What is up, guys? Remaster Flex here. Oh my god, what a pay per view Money in the Bank was last night. Man, this was definitely something else here. I'm gonna do a quick little review on the WWE Money in the Bank pay per view last night. I kind of wanted to do a separate video of Otis and Asuka winning separately, kind of like my reaction towards that, but. I mean, I just thought I might as well just talk about the whole show because this was quite an interesting show here. A lot of fun. Definitely a step up from some of their shows on television for the most part. So first up, you had the SmackDown Tag Team titles on the line. The New Day versus the Lucha House Party. Grand Metalik and what was that guy's name? And then the Forgotten Sons and Miz and Morrison. Um, this was a really good match to kick off the show. The Lucha House Party had a lot of good moves that they did, a lot of high flying spots. You had a Spanish fly that John Morrison did on one of the luchas. You had you know definitely this match. The Forgotten Sons look really good in this match, and I mean overall, they still made Forgotten Sons look strong, especially for them only being on the main roster, only been on SmackDown for so long, and because they didn't take the pin here, so they look strong in the feet. Um, and I was kind of surprised that they didn't have the Miz, and I guess that kind of shows that him and Morrison are going to be around for a little longer before Morrison eventually turns on the Miz. So that was kind of interesting there. But they took the pin here with the New Day. The New Day retained the belts. I thought for sure that I kind of didn't know who to root for. I thought it was a little too soon for Forgotten Sons to win the titles, but I definitely thought that the titles were going to change hands. But this is definitely was definitely a good way to kick off the show. Definitely a lot of great hot spots here. All four teams definitely made this match really fun. The next match you had, I don't even know why this match is on the card. R-Truth and MVP, which MVP didn't end up wrestling because Bobby Lashley comes out and he says, I got this. And he squashes R-Truth, and R-Truth accidentally slaps him, and he's saying all these things, and then Bobby Lashley just ends up pummeling him and just you know ends up beating him really quickly. And later on, our truth reveals, basically he's going to go back for the 20 for the title. And instead of saying that he's going after Rob Gronkowski, he says Tom Brady. And so that was an interesting thing there um, with that match right there. Um, yeah, you know, I'm not sure why it was in the card, but I mean, I got to give them credit for. Our truth is always funny to watch, so that's kind of what I'll say about that. Next up, you had the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Bayley and Tamina. This match right here was a pretty good match. You could definitely see the tension that they're building more and more between Sasha and Bayley. I think it was Charlie Caruso who tried to ask about, you know, everything that Sasha has done for Bayley prior to the match, and Bayley just takes the microphone and is like, I see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to cause, distinctions between us. And Sasha just doesn't, she's not able to say anything. And, this match, I don't think anybody expected Tamina to win. It made Tamina look pretty decent in this match. You got um, quite a few, good moves, and the best part of the match definitely was, uh, Bailey countering her super kick into a submission. I really liked that spot. That was a really good spot in the match. And the funny thing is, on the same Samoan drop that Tamina used on Bailey in that tag match to pin her in the tag match. She did it again here. It didn't work. Bailey actually countered, um, the splash she was going from the top rope. And, like I said, this match right here, um, the moral of the story is it just kind of furthers the tension that you can see that they're building between Sasha Banks and Bailey. Hopefully, this time it's a proper storyline versus the last time what they were doing. Um, you can just see it, and because of Sasha's help, uh, Bailey was able to pick up the win with it was kind of like a crucifix type of pin almost, but it was similar to a roll up there. And the crazy part was, right after she won the match, Tamina picked her up, which looked like she was going to try to go for a Samoa drop because I don't know what Bailey was trying to do with Tamina when Tamina fall on top of her, but it looked like she picked her up. Another crazy spot was when she tossed Bailey through the announce crossing the announce table, and Corey Graves told Michael Cole like, "Why didn't you help her? Why didn't you pick her up? Why didn't you help her keep her from falling?" Basically, and that was a pretty crazy part of the match as well. So definitely, uh, it definitely was a pretty decent match. Nothing special or anything like that. But definitely, the moral story here is that you can see what they're doing here with Bailey and Sasha as we go on. So next up, you have the SmackDown tag team. The SmackDown, the Universal title match on SmackDown with Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship. Let me just say this match right here, um, here's some noise, some stuff on the side. Uh, this match right here, the storytelling, this was really amazing. Bray, he didn't came out as Bray, the Roy Rogers type character. And, it makes sense because at first, some people question why would he come out as Bray and not the Fiend when Braun is someone of his past. But the reason was simple because, he wanted Braun to rejoin the Wyatts, to come back with him and rejoin him. And so he wasn't going to become the Fiend because, he didn't really want to hurt Braun. So because of the fact that Braun has now outsmarted him and still beat him anyway, now it's going to cause him to bring out the Fiend. And so definitely you can just tell that this feud is going to continue, which I really like because there's a lot of history with these guys. Everyone knew that Braun was a part of the Wyatts originally. SummerSlam after 2015 is when he first joined them. Then eventually he was drafted to Raw the very next year when the draft came back. And that's kind of what split him from the Wyatts. He never joined back with them ever since. But it just definitely it was a really good match, even for him using his his because he kept smiling at everything that Braun was doing. But you can kind of see that split side of him come out because when Braun tried to go for that running shoulder tackle, he sidestepped him, and Braun hit the announce table, and then he went for a DDT. His puppet was, cheering him on, and then he went for actually two really good DDTs. One of them he did outside the ring, and the other one he did in the ring. So tornado DDT, a regular DDT outside the ring, a tornado DDT in the ring. He hit the Abigail, and Braun Strowman kicked out. And the best part about this whole thing was that Braun Strowman put on the sheet mask, the same mask that throughout that Bray gave him as a gift when he was on Alexa Bliss show, and basically he really thought that Braun was coming back. Puppet thought that Braun was coming back, and he really thought that Braun was coming back. They embraced the hug. He actually thought that Braun was coming back, but little did he know that Braun was going to take that mask off, stomp it, and destroy it. And then hit him with the running power slam to retain his title. So definitely, this sets up for the Fiend to come out because now he has a reason to come out since he tried to be nice. He tried to get Braun to come back. He tried to get Braun to rejoin, um, the Wyatts to rejoin him, and that did not happen. So now this now gives a reason for him to have the Fiend come out, which is the more aggressive side of him, and but I would definitely give him this. This was a really good match. I really enjoyed this match a lot. The storytelling was amazing, especially seeing how happy Bray Wyatt was when he saw that when he actually thought that Braun was actually going to rejoin the Wyatts, rejoin him, and when they embraced in that hug, I thought that was really amazing. Bray has just been killing it with his character, and I got to give him credit because when he went against the Miz when he first brought that character out, um, in that match he barely did anything. His entrance was amazing. His character development was great, but in terms of the actual match, I mean, the only offensive move he really pulled off was the Sister Abigail. But throughout the match, it was mostly the Miz that was doing everything. But in this match, it was quite the opposite. And then he even screamed out, why did you make me do this, Braun? Like, you could just see the other side of him coming out, especially as the public was cheering him on. You could see the other side of him coming out, or should I say the pig was cheering him on. You could see the other side, Husky the pig. You could see the other side of him coming out as he was going against Braun. You could tell he didn't want to do it, but you can see that other side of him. And I definitely think that this is good for Braun because even though he was never meant to win the title, and he's always call it transitional champion, but this is the way that they're going to start off his title run. His Universal title, I'm all for it. I mean, no one really cared much about his match with Goldberg at WrestleMania, but I mean, hey, this is definitely a great first title defense. Now, if they're going to bring the Fiend out, it should be interesting to see how that match is going to end. If Bray's going to win the belt back, if Braun's going to win by some type of weird finish or something. So that should be really interesting how that plays out. Definitely one of my favorite matches of the night. And then, after that, you had Seth Rollins going against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship on the Raw side. This match right here was just absolutely amazing. I love what they've been doing with Drew McIntyre. I love the way they've been booking him ever since he won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. The fact that he even retained the title on the same night against the Big Show. I really love what they've been doing. Seth Rollins has been playing a really good heel, uh, as the Monday Night Messiah. And, you know, he had a lot of the offense in the beginning. Drew McIntyre dominated throughout the beginning of the match, and then Steph started to work on his legs, and there were several times in that match where he was keeping him out of the ring and had the ref count, and then he would run back in the ring and then restart, and then the ref would restart the count again, nearly getting himself counted out multiple times, despite the fact that titles can't change hands with a count out. And you kind of just see the ignorance of the Seth Rollins character of what he was doing there. He went for several suicide dives or suicidas uh, from outside of the ring. He hit him with a couple of knees outside of the ring. I really like when Drew finally countered that into belly to belly. Drew was kicking out at one and a lot of the pinfall attempts and stuff was doing. But as the match progressed, he started to kick out at two, and that this was definitely a really good match. I really didn't expect. I mean, I've seen Drew do it, but when he hit the Future Shark DDT, which is actually the move that he used to use in the beginning when he first came to WWE, that was his original finisher before he even started using the Claymore. It was surprising that he went for the pin afterwards because usually now he just goes for the Claymore then he goes for the pin, but this time he actually brought back his old finisher, the Future Shark DDT, and actually went for the pin and Seth kicked out. So that was a really good spot right there. Also, I like the spot where Seth actually, when they were on the top of the rope, and Seth, I don't know what he was trying to go for, but Drew countered it and tossed him from the top of the rope. It was kind of like a belly to belly suplex. I always like how Drew does that. Like he lays down like this and then he gets up and he tosses his opponent down. So that was a really good spot right there. There was another spot where Seth ended up leaping up top of the ropes, hitting that suplex, turned into a Falcon Arrow. That was a good spot right there. And then the best part about the match, this was one of the best combinations I ever seen. Uh, so Drew hit a Glasgow kiss, a headbutt on Seth. Seth goes for a super kick. He gets hit with a claymore. That I believe that was the way that the combo worked. It was a headbutt, then it was a super kick, then it was a claymore. That was one of the best combinations I've ever seen. I mean, if you're gonna end a match like that, wow, that was incredible. That was one of the best combinations that I ever seen, and I gotta hand it to him, And also, I forget to mention Seth hit a really good frog splash on Drew that Drew kicked out of as well. But Drew hit a lot of good belly to belly suplexes as well. Drew, he's just been incredible with ever since he won the title. Even just prior, even during the build up of him winning, even during the build up prior to him even winning the WWE title at WrestleMania, they've been booking him really strong. This was a really great opponent for him here. And shockingly, what shocked me was the end was, after he won the match, he actually reached out to Seth to shake his hand. I don't know if this means that Seth is gonna turn back babyface somewhere down the line, or what this exactly means. But I thought for sure that he was gonna stick his hand out and didn't hit a claymore, but instead he, put his hand out and actually shook Seth's hand. So that was quite interesting how that played out. But man, this match right here, definitely both of the title matches delivered. I really enjoyed both of them by far. The SmackDown match and the Universal title match. Say what you want about the Universal title, about it kind of being a pointless championship, but I mean, you got to give them credit here, especially with this whole thing with Bray and Braun. I think this is really going to elevate the Universal title a lot, especially for Braun. I think he should run with the title for quite some time, and I think the same thing for Drew. I think Drew should hold on to the belt for quite some time before he loses it. And if they keep booking him the way that they're booking him, I mean, this is just going to be many, many more good matches to come. So definitely that combination in the end was just amazing. One of the best combinations I've ever seen. And Drew picked up the victory in the championship. Now it's really going to be interesting to see how they. Um, it's going to be interesting to see, who's Drew next challenger going to be, or if they're going to continue to feud with Seth. It'd be interesting to see, who's going to be his next challenger. I know Kevin Owens is injured right now, and I heard about Jinder Mahal getting a big push, so that should be interesting to see how that plays out. And then you go to the main event. This show was really quick. It really shocked me how short this show was. The matches it was under 2 hours. It was only like the 2 hour pay per view. And I don't know if they did this because of the circumstances going on, but I mean, you also got to give them credit for how short this pay per view was. There were about 7, 8 matches on the card. What was it, seven? Yeah, about 7 matches, 6, 7 matches on the card, and it was only 2 hours. So you got to give them credit there. And then the pre-show you had Jeff Hardy and Cesaro. I didn't see that match. I know Jeff Hardy won, but pretty sure it was a really good match. So then you get some Money in the Bank. The women and men's Money in the Bank match are taking place at the same time. This was a really fun match, very entertaining. I mean, it was so many things to point out in this match. I don't even know where to start. I mean, you had Otis. You had Otis at one point. He got caught in like an area with the catering area of all the food, and he just really started going crazy when he saw all of that. You had the spot where AJ Styles got PTSD. People were saying he was getting all these flashbacks because of the whole Boneyard match, The Undertaker. We saw this room that had like a casket in there, and freaking Aleister Black actually kicked him into the room, and then he just started screaming, and that was pretty insane. And Baron Corbin, or should I say King Corbin, you know, you had them all fighting um, all over the place. In the women, you had Asuka. She actually started off the match. No one knew where Asuka was. She was on the top of, I think, the top of the elevator or something. She did like a crossbody splash from the top. That was incredible. Asuka really, as long as when Asuka ran into the elevator and they tried to get her, then they ran down the steps. She should have, that would have been a perfect opportunity for Asuka to just go to where the briefcase was. So that was pretty interesting there. I was like, the whole time I was watching this match with my friend at a wrestling play, I was just like, man, I mean, Asuka really could have just, when she took the elevator, I mean, while they were doing it, she could have easily got up to the roof of where the Money in the Bank briefcase was, because it took a long time for the other women to even find where she was, to even up to where Asuka was. And you had Dana Brooke had her slip on the mopping floor when they were fighting on the mopping floor. You actually had the men and women cross paths, which I thought that was really funny because they started having a food fight while Paul Heyman was eating. They started actually having a food fight while Paul Heyman was in there with the food, and the weird alliance that they had with Otis and Nia, where they actually both crushed Rey Mysterio, and also um, Shayna Baszler put Rey Mysterio in her submission. Um, so that was interesting right there. I didn't expect that type of alliance to happen. I mean, Rey Mysterio, he took a lot of weird things that happened with him in this match. I mean, you even had King Corbin toss Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black on the top of the headquarters off the roof, and that's kind of how that ended with them two. But AJ Styles, his whole thing with the Boneyard match and the way how he was acting when he passed those photos, those pictures, the Undertaker picture, Roman Reigns picture, when he passed those pictures, that was pretty interesting how that happened. You had this one part where Otis ran into, I think it was. At one point, he saw John Laurinaitis. He said people power. That was pretty cool. One time he ran across the bathroom and saw Brother Love. You had the funny part where Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles actually went into the office of Vince, and Vince just looked at them and pointing at each other, and he's just like out. And then they reorganized his chair, and then they just started. And then he calls, and then AJ calls him a coward. And then he was like, you're the one who like restocked the chairs, and then they just start fighting each other again after that. So I mean, that part was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun spots in this match. I gotta hand it to him. I mean, this is the second time they've done a match like this since the Boneyard match, and it really worked in my favor. It really worked in my opinion on both sides. The only thing that was pretty crazy with the women, they had that one spot where Dana actually grabbed the briefcase and she thought she won, and then Stephanie, who obviously wasn't actually there, with the way they filmed it, was talking about, you have to actually climb to the roof. That's this is the uh, what did she say? This is the conference room. You gotta actually climb to the headquarters. You gotta climb the top of the roof. This is the conference room. That's like a prompt Money in the Bank briefcase. So that was pretty interesting how they did that. Um, I thought for sure that I mean, when I saw that, I already knew she didn't win. I was like, "What?" I was like, "What is this?" So that was pretty interesting how they did that. And another thing you also got to give them. And then also there was that one spot early in the match where Otis actually like put these weights close to where AJ was, and AJ was stuck in that spot for a while. And so it was just a lot of good spots here. Rey Mysterio, like I said, he took some weird punishments in this match. There was a part. There was a part in the match. I mean, I'm trying to think. It was just so many spots in both the men and women's matches. Uh, you know, you had that one spot in the women's match where Nia Jax actually power bombs Carmella, which that pretty much was it for Carmella. She power bombed Carmella to her table, and Carmella didn't come back after that. Really, after Dana slipped, she didn't come back, and then Shayna, she got hit with something, and she didn't come back, and so the whole thing, it was just all over the place, and the one thing I didn't understand was towards the end. Also, you had the spot where Corbin like broke the glass, which and then he stared at it as after he did it. So you had that spot there. And funny thing is, I actually told my friend while we were watching the pay per view, I was like, I feel like as Elias is going to come out and he's going to cost Corbin the match, and that's exactly what happened. And it was just weird that Corbin was trying to stop Asuka from grabbing the women's briefcase. I didn't understand that at all. I mean, there's two different matches going on here, and he tried to stop Asuka only for her to kick him off of the ladder and grab the briefcase. I gotta give it to Asuka here because this at this point, Asuka, she has literally won every ladder match she's been in. Like every ladder match they put Asuka in, been on Raw in the main roster, she's won, and it just shocked me. The two TLCs in a row, 2018 and 2019. 2018 and last year, 2018, she won the SmackDown Women's Championship, and one of the best main events that they did for the women with her, Becky Lynch and Charlotte. That match was actually incredible that they had at TLC that year, and she won the SmackDown Women's Championship due to the help of Ronda Rousey. And then last year, they had that SmackDown. They had the women's tag team match with her and Kyrie against against Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and they retained the women's tag team titles. The only problem with that match was, is that there were a lot of botches, and Kyrie got uh, really hurt, seriously hurt in that match, got a concussion in that match. But Oscar won that, and now she's won the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, a lot. I thought for sure that they were going to either have, maybe Shayna or maybe Nia win. I definitely knew that Carmella was not winning again. I knew that Dana was not winning. But I thought that one of those two was going to win, especially with the way that they were booking Shayna. But you gotta hand it to them here. I mean, these were two unexpected picks. Now, from what I heard with the men, from what I seen there, it was just kind of weird how they did the ending. So Corbin and AJ grabbed the briefcase at the same time. It kind of reminds me of that ladder match they did at WrestleMania, where basically Jimmy, it was like Jimmy and Kobe, who both unleashed the title, the SmackDown title, and then it dropped. And then they both hit all three of them, those two and Morrison, all three of them were grabbing the title, and then hit Morrison, and the title fell on Morrison, and he retained the titles for him. That's kind of similar to this. The only difference was that this time, him and Corbin both unleashed the briefcase, and then somehow the briefcase slips out of AJ's hands because they're both trying to fight over the briefcase. It slips out of AJ's hands and falls straight on Otis. And I mean, I really don't. I really was shocked about that because I didn't think that Otis was going to win the Money in the Bank this early. But from what I heard, he could be using this opportunity to cash in for SmackDown Tag Team titles, which would be interesting to me because I've never seen that happen. I've never seen the briefcase used for anything other than the main championship. So uh, that should be quite interesting how that works because I've already, I don't think anyone sees Otis. Um, I mean, people want him to be pushed, but I don't think anyone sees him uh, winning the big title this early. I mean, he still, still needs to establish himself. And I already, I wanted to see the Heavy Machinery win the SmackDown Tag Team titles at least once or twice before he even gets to that point. So that should be interesting how that happens. Some people are saying they think that Tucker's going to turn on Otis. I think that the proper thing to do here is for them to challenge Taz and title, even though that would be the first time in history a Money in the Bank holder would ever do that. But hey, I mean, at least he can say that he won a Money in the Bank, and hopefully, if he does do that, as long as it's not for the main championship, because I mean, if he cashes in on Braun, that would be quite strange. Not to say I would hate it or anything, but that would be interesting if he did that. I mean, he's got the character, he's got the charisma. He definitely is a lot of fun to watch. In terms of him being and on that level right now, I do think it's too soon. But it should be interesting, how they play this out. So it should be really interesting. Oh man, I just think that the way that they do this should be quite interesting. Him and Oscar winning was definitely something that I did not see coming. I mean, they have been building Oscar for quite a while, and I did hear that Vince, had a lot of had a change in heart with Oscar. Hopefully, this time that they can rebuild her to what she was. She was undefeated in NXT for a long time up until she lost to Charlotte. Her undefeated streak came to an end at WrestleMania 34, and since then she's kind of had an up and down push on the main roster, especially when you consider the fact that even after she won the SmackDown title, SmackDown Women's Championship at TLC 2018, the only proper title defense she had was against Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble. Um, and then after that, she faced Mandy Rhodes at Fastlane, but that match no one really cared too much about. At that point, they weren't booking her that well as champion. So, if they're going to do this with her, hopefully this time she wins the Raw Women's Championship. I don't mind seeing her square off with Becky again if that happens, or maybe Becky loses the title and then she catches it. That could also be the case. I mean, these two have proven to have that they can work. They work very well together. They had a really good match at the Royal Rumble last year. They had a really good match this year at the Royal Rumble as well. So that should be interesting how that plays out. And as far as Otis, like I said before, I think it's a little too soon for him, but maybe like I said, the tag team titles would definitely be the way to go as long as they don't do something crazy of having Tucker turn on him. I think that's just way too soon to break. They've been doing a lot of turning with teams lately, and the hacker did show up and said, that he was watching and showed everything he was watching. It showed all the split screens that the hacker is paying attention to, and he said you're sensing that another team is going to break up, but I'm sensing that would be the Miz and Morrison. I definitely don't think this should happen with Heavy Machinery yet. Um, and so hopefully, and this will also add a lot of steam to the tag team division if you keep these guys together because right now you're really only looking at four tag teams, and one of them could potentially be breaking up anyway. And so you need to kind of steam the roll with the tag teams. But overall, I thought this pay per view here. I didn't want this video to go this long, but I thought this pay per view here was really solid. Definitely enjoyed it. There was a lot of good matches, a lot of good moments in this pay per view, especially the Money in the Bank matches. Really weird how they ended the matches, but hey, I mean it was fun after all. And you got to hand it to them. I mean, in the circumstances we're in, for them to pull off this type of thing, they were doing it for entertainment butts, and I know most people kind of expected for it to be like a regular a Money in the Bank match, but the way that they did it, I really enjoyed it. A lot of fun moments in the match. Uh, you know, it was funny to me. everything. AJ did his part, Ray did his part. For the women, Asuka did her part definitely. Even when she was dancing around, which she could have just easily just ran straight into the elevator, which is what she did after she did all that dancing. And it was just everybody did their part. You had that one part where Nia looked at Otis and was just shaking her head. I mean, everyone did their part in this, so you got to hand it to them there. They really delivered with the show. Um, like I said, I thought both main title matches for Raw and SmackDown had really great storytelling, really good matches, and for both title matches, definitely. I thought that SmackDown Tag Team title match was a decent opener for what it was. SmackDown Women's title match was good for what it was. It wasn't great, but it was okay. And other than maybe the Lashley and our Truth thing, which it was what it was. I thought that this pay per view was solid. I thought this pay per view was really solid. I thought they did a really good job. If only they could deliver on their shows like this, which I think to some degree, their shows are good, but they always have those certain segments that kind of messes it up. But definitely, yeah, I really enjoyed the show, and I'm gonna pretty much wrap it up like that. I don't know if Red Masters Flex, and talk to you guys.